Let's be real, people. We saw this coming. Naughty Dog this generation has re-released Uncharted 4 and The Lost Legacy with the Legacy of Thieves collection, re-released The Last of Us Part 1, so you know they were planning on re-releasing The Last of Us Part 2 at some point, especially in the midst of the successful HBO show. Listen, I got no issues with remasters and remakes. I actually like them, and when it's done correctly, they're pretty dope. Remake and remaster games that are actually old and deserve to be re-experienced by longtime fans and a new generation of gamers. Just think about all the gamers that probably never played the original Resident Evil 2 but was introduced with the modern day remake. Resident Evil 2 is still to this day the greatest example of executing the perfect remake. The only time remakes and remasters are problematic is when games that are not even old and doesn't need a visual or gameplay overhaul get re-released. And I know the lines get a little bit blurry these days when it comes to the definition of a remaster and a remake, especially when we have releases like the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy Collection described as a remaster, and The Last of Us Part 1 is considered a remake when essentially they're the same product. But one thing I know for certain is some remakes and remasters feel like quick cash grabs and some don't. Enter The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. Look, on paper, this re-release pretty much checks all the boxes with what I don't like with remasters, and it feels like a quick cash grab. The game is under 4 years old. The PS4 version still looks absolutely stunning. It still plays extremely well. What could they possibly add or do to justify remastering it? And that's what we're here to talk about today. In this review, I'm not going to be talking about the story because most likely you've already played this game and you already know what's going on. And the story is pretty controversial. You're either going to love it or you're going to absolutely hate it. What I'm going to be focusing on is what's new with this remaster and is it worth it? So strap in, it's going to be a long one. Before we get into the new added content, remember, this is a remaster, right? So how's the enhanced visuals? Well, let's take a look. Here's the original PS4 version running on the PS5. And here's the exact same scene in the remastered version for the PS5. When I tell you I can't tell no damn difference, the two versions are indistinguishable, and I'm sure Digital Foundry is going to make a video zooming in 300% trying to spot the differences, and there's probably some subtle differences, but it's negligible. Just like the PS4 version on the PS5, there's two different visual modes: Fidelity mode, which targets 4K at 30 frames per second, and a performance mode which targets 1440p at 60 frames per second. If your TV supports VRR, you can unlock the frame rate and get over 60 frames per second at 1080p, which is pretty cool. When it comes to the visuals, it's mostly unchanged, at least to my eyes. Outside of being a little bit sharper, I can't tell the difference. As for the game's performance, it's stable as you would expect. They also added proper DualSense support and it's implemented pretty well. Now, let's get into the biggest selling point of this remaster, No Return, the newly added roguelike game mode. Before I give you guys my personal opinion, I want to give you guys a rundown of this new mode. If you played games like Hades or Returnal, you're going to be familiar with this kind of gameplay loop. In No Return, you take control of 1 out of the 10 unlockable characters that featured in The Last of Us Part 2 and try to survive 6 levels to complete a run. If you die, it's game over and you gotta start all over. Each character has unique traits, loadout, and playstyles. For example, Ellie has a balanced playstyle where Abby has a close combat playstyle. One of Ellie's character traits grants her 50% more supplements, where one of Abby's character traits grants her heals on melee kills. You get the idea. I do like this concept because you pick a character that fits your personal playstyle and the character has traits that support it. So the goal is to survive all 6 levels, with the last level being a boss fight. Each level may consist of any one of these game modes. Assault, where you need to kill 3 waves of enemies to proceed. Hunted, where you need to survive waves of enemies until the timer runs out. Capture, where you need to get supplies in a safe guarded by enemies. And Holdout, where you need to protect your ally against a swarm of infected. With each level you complete, at the end you get a grading for your performance, so it's ideal to clear levels quickly without taking damage and stylishly to top the leaderboards. You can choose your difficulty at the beginning of your run, and depending which difficulty you choose, you get a bonus multiplier. So if you're playing on grounded, you're obviously going to get the highest multiplier you can. And let me tell you something, no return on grounded is really hard and it's definitely going to test your skills. Once you complete a level, you're warped back to the projection room in the theater or the aquarium, depending if you're Team Ellie or Team Abby, and you can use the rewards earned from completing the level to upgrade your weapon at the workbench, purchase new ones at the trading post, and use your earned supplements before jumping back into the next level. As you guys can see, there's multiple branches you can take to get to the end. Each level you select has a detailed description of the type of encounter it is, faction you're dealing with, and rewards for completion. Oh, there's also level mods. The mods are a nice twist to the gameplay. Some levels have mods where melee attacks set enemies on fire. Some have mods where enemies drop bombs when they die, and some turns enemies invisible. If you thought clickers were scary before, invisible clickers are a whole lot worse. The mods are really cool, and there's a good amount of them you can unlock while playing. No Return is set up like a playground to really have fun with The Last of Us Part 2's gameplay mechanics. So the way progression works in No Return is you have these challenges. When you initially start No Return, the majority of the content is locked. You only have access to Ellie and Abby and Assault and Hunted game modes. You gotta keep fulfilling the challenges to unlock other characters, skins, additional mods, features, bosses, and the 2 other modes, Capture and Holdout. So for example, after completing 2 runs, you unlock a feature called Gambits, which gives you additional challenges per encounter, and if you complete them, you receive greater rewards. After completing 3 runs, you unlock Dead Drops, where you can deposit requested items during encounters to receive additional rewards back at the hideout. So to get the core features and game modes, you have to do a total of 9 runs. As you progress, you'll gain access to custom runs where you can modify the experience to your liking, and daily runs that can only be played once and are crafted by Naughty Dog. So that's the No Return experience. Alright, moment of truth. So what do I think? I'm not gonna lie to you guys, No Return is fun and increases the replay value of The Last of Us Part 2. I enjoyed jumping back in because Part 2's combat is so good, but I can't help but feel like this could have been a free update for the fans. I would even take it a step further. I feel like this game mode should have been part of the original launch, especially since The Last of Us Part 2 didn't release with its multiplayer component factions. So let me explain. The reason why I think this should have been a free update is because it feels like it's slapped together. I know that term sounds horrible and what No Return offers is pretty fun. I just think what's here isn't worth repackaging the whole game and reselling it. There's no original levels in No Return. Every level is straight up ripped out of the campaign but just blocked off to create an arena. And if you're like me and have played The Last of Us Part 2 more than once, these encounter locations ain't really all that exciting no more. I get it, you get to play as Manny now, Tommy, Joel, but some new areas would have been nice. There's no new enemies, weapons. The whole experience feels like they went into the boardroom and said, we already have all these assets done. How can we repurpose it and resell The Last of Us Part 2 again? And this becomes even more apparent when looking at what Sony Santa Monica did with God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. They dropped a free roguelike expansion with new areas to explore, new enemies and boss fights, new armors and a new weapon, and continue the story. Man, when you really take it in, Valhalla blows the water with what Naughty Dog did with No Return, and it was free. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. In reality, we should have paid for God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, but they blessed us. So this package is poorly timed in my personal opinion, and before some of y'all pull out your pitchforks, I do know there's an upgrade path and it's $10. Thank God it's just $10. PlayStation got that right. But with the recent news we've been getting from Naughty Dog, canceling The Last of Us Online, a free update would have been nice, especially with all the repurposed work here. With what's here, I can't imagine they spent a lot of time, money developing this remaster. I don't know, it's just my opinion. I'm sure super diehard Last of Us fans are gonna enjoy No Return, trying to set crazy scores, especially for the daily runs, but for me personally, I will be moving on rather quickly. I also feel like this was a missed opportunity for them to introduce a multiplayer component to the game. Co-op would have been perfect for this kind of experience. Some levels have you paired up with a friendly AI companion. For example, if you're playing as Ellie, you may choose a level that has Dina as your partner. I was playing this to myself thinking, damn, this would have been really cool if it was co-op. If No Return was a little bit more ambitious, I think it would be 100% worth it, because I see the vision of this PvE that they were trying to introduce to The Last of Us Online. To make this package more enticing, they included a couple of extras, a free play guitar mode and lost levels. The free play guitar mode is dope and pretty fleshed out. You can choose from a variety of unlockable guitars. Joel, Ellie, and Gustavo are playable characters in this mode. I'm sure all the gaming guitarists are gonna post songs all over social media. It's a neat little extra and I'm not mad at it. When it comes to the lost levels, there's 3 of them. They're not integrated with the main campaign like some sort of director's cut, but can be selected in the main menu. There's also commentary while you check out these 3 levels that didn't make it into the game. If you're into the whole behind the scenes of creating a game, this is for you. I enjoyed going through the 3 levels, but it's one of those things that you experience once, then you move on. Naughty Dog also added a bunch of new skins you can unlock for the main campaign, so now you can play The Last of Us Part 2 from beginning to end in a spacesuit. And that's about it. So the final verdict is, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered introduces some cool new extras and a new game mode, but ultimately should have been a free update for the fans in my personal opinion. If you're a diehard fan starving for some new content and you already own the game, $10 really isn't a big deal for you to jump back in and experience no return, even if it's repurposed content. But if you have to repurchase the game because maybe you bought a physical and you sold it, I don't know, man. You might want to wait for a sale if you want to check out no return. Anyways guys, that's it. That's the review. Hopefully it was very informative and you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe for more quality content in the future. It's your boy Kofi, and I'm out.